I can barely see a little thingy.
Barely see one.
Your little mic thingy.
Okay.
And you are hearing me okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Good.
Okay. So we're gonna have Mr. Sweeney's
Welcome.
test his
Ready
results.
to.
Mm-hmm. How is the camera? Mm-hmm.
Yes, my phone is
They're
on
off.
silent.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mine
off.
is on silent.
Off.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Hill, good morning. They
Off.
haven't added you in? Oh, the senior manager is Mr. Hill. He's on the list. Yes,
Hello?
Keisha is addressing it. All right. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Sorry? Oh, so you get in the frame, the backdrop and stuff. Okay. It's falling out? Hmm?
No.
Hmm? You keep
No,
a
I
follow?
didn't want. Okay, so me like I might.
Hmm?
See if you can put it.
Who was it you spoke to?
Mr. Hill.
They're not
Or the-
logged in as their name. That's why we don't know. So
Call him now. Just give him a call. Call him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's here.
I'm not sure. Just give him a call. Him no wonder why I show. Why you don't want to see? Oh, the wire?
So move it for you.
Don't fall. Why does it keep falling off?
Oops.
Why it keep falling off though? It's alright.
Yeah, move it. Just don't have to pay for it.
Oh, freely. Okay. What I'll do if it's falling off, I'll go like this and you guys come and do and do your thing and it switches the camera. Or I'll probably okay. Turn it off. Off, yeah. Think. Right, because persons were hearing all you just said.
Whoa.
On the JSIF.
Ouch. Ouch. What, 4 minutes? So mine should be off then.
You turned on the volume?
I'm still hearing it echoing.
is there any way they can get to some of the people that are on the list? If you can send out a general mail to say that they need to log in as their name, because we have a lot of people there waiting with some weird name, but we don't know who they are.
Well, I called everybody this morning.
Like who?
Logging as them
But
device,
who would know?
I wouldn't.
services or
remember. Good morning and welcome to the virtual Stakeholder Sensitization Forum for the second Rural Economic Development Initiative, REDI 2, being hosted by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. We are streaming live on JIS website as well as Radio Jamaica 94 FM's Hotline program and on social media. Indeed, we are in unprecedented times as we are connected virtually this morning to share with you, our stakeholders, the exciting opportunities under the second programming of the Rural Economic Development Initiative. This sensitization forum seeks to inform of the offerings under the new programming and how can beneficiaries access or the benefits under the project be accessed by eligible enterprises in the agriculture and tourism sectors. My name is Kamisha Bachan, REDI 2 Project Manager, as well as this morning's moderator. I am joined here at the offices of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund by Mr. Omar Sweeney, our Managing Director, Mr. Vincent Thompson, Agriculture Specialist, and Ms. Beverly Stewart, our Tourism Specialist, and of course our communications team, Andrew C. White and Keisha and Slate Wallace. Bringing remarks this morning on behalf of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism is Mr. David Dobson, Senior Director, Technical Services. Also joining us, representing the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, is Ms. Letha Geddes, Director, Project Management and Coordination Division in the Ministry. We are also joined on Zoom by JSIF Senior Management Team and the JSIF staff. Acting Executive Director of the Tourism Product Development Company, Mr. Stephen Edwards. CEO of the National Irrigation Commission, Mr. Joseph Giles. Mr. Errol Gallimore, Registrar of the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. Mr. Stevie Barnett, General Manager, the Jamaica Bauxite Institute. Representatives from our various producer organizations and community tourism enterprises, or representatives from the public and private sectors, as well as you, our viewing and listening audience. Certainly, agriculture and tourism continue to be significant drivers of growth, economic growth, and possess opportunities to transform and to build a more resilient economy as we even contend with the challenges brought on by the current global pandemic of COVID-19. REDI 2 will seek to strengthen value chains and the development of tourism clusters with an emphasis on the linkages between producers, service providers, and buyers aimed at improving economies of scale and mainstreaming climate resilience. MSMEs, agriculture groups, community tourism clusters get to know more on how you may qualify to grow your agribusiness, and of course our tourism businesses with technical assistance leading to co-financing or matching grant support under the REDI 2. We now ask Mr. Omar Sweeney, our Managing Director at JSIF, to bring his remarks.
Good morning. I am pleased to have you here this morning, joining us here at the offices of JSIF, where this morning we seek to sensitize our persons, our beneficiaries, about the new Rural Economic Development Initiative. This initiative is a phase 2 that started as far back as 2010 when REDI 1 started, and the idea at the time was to target livelihoods in rural communities and ensure that we could have the necessary linkages with the tourism sector, for example, and ensure that our farmers, our service providers, had the necessary training and capacity and economic well-being to be able to be reliable partners to the industry. We're pleased this morning working in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism, and I also recognize on the Zoom Senior Director David Dobson, a longtime partner in the program, and I recognize the Ministry of Agriculture, represented by Lydie Geddes, and we also now have the Ministry of Rural Development, which will also play a significant role in the development of this project. What today is about is learning. It's about learning, awareness, and sensitization, and what we really hope for is to garner your participation in what is about to happen. So let me tell you a little bit about what is going to happen. Since March of 2020, the World Bank, through a loan to the government of Jamaica, approved $40 million over the next 5 years to support agriculture and tourism enterprises. This loan became effective and started implementation. Yes, we all have had some challenges with the pandemic, but what is necessary and what is known is that the economic crunch that has come, as for example in tourism, is well known, and the economic crunch and the byproduct of the effect on agriculture is also well known. And these resources, as programmed by the government of Jamaica, have been set aside and allowed to support the recovery and support the survival of critical MSMEs at this moment in time. We're steps away from the formal launch of the program, but a formal launch is only what that is. It is a formal launch. What we want to ensure is that we can get the word spread as wide as possible across the country, across our stakeholders, across the persons who have the ability and the opportunity to best benefit from this program. So the next 2 hours, we will hear from the sector leaders, meaning the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Agriculture. We will hear a little bit more from our technical team, Beverly Stewart on the tourism side and Vincent Thompson on the agriculture side. And we really trust and hope that we will be able to provide the kind of platform and information to you that will enable the type of questions and the type of interactions that will help us to better serve and better implement and be more effective and speedy. Because paramount to what will happen is that the access to these grants will be by way of a call for proposals, right? And what we do want, if we want to be effective and we want to roll out very quickly and efficiently, we want the grants to be best aligned to the things that we're asking for. So in a way that we can get your feedback and get the sort of interrogation, if you will, of how we can best roll out this program, that's our objective. So like I said earlier, it's about sensitization and awareness, and also understanding from the sector partners what are the priority areas that we're looking for to really give a comprehensive and a complete look at how we want to roll out this REDI 2 program. So I look forward to that. I think it should be an interesting session, and I will end my remarks there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney, for your remarks. Essentially, REDI 2 is about partnership. It's about strengthening the linkages between agriculture and tourism. And certainly we are here because of the strong foundation built to fully implement and support the programming of the initiative across the island. So joining us this morning to bring remarks is Mr. David Dobson, Senior Director, Technical Services from the Ministry of Tourism via Zoom. Mr. Dobson, are you on?
I am on. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear, sir.
Thank you so much, Ms. Batchan. And let me acknowledge very quickly Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director of JSIF. Let me also acknowledge Ms. Leta Geddes, Director of the Project Management and Coordination Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, as well as Mr. Vincent Thompson, who is the Agricultural Specialist in JSIF, and Miss, I almost call her our very own, Miss Beverly Stewart, Tourism Specialist at JSIF. We are also joined by our Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, Dr. Kerry Wallace, and Mr. Stephen Edwards, who is the Acting Executive Director for Tourism Product Development Company. Both agencies, of course, will be very involved in the rollout of the program. So I acknowledge the rest of ladies and gentlemen online, and a very good morning to you. So I am pleased to be partnering in the launch of this important national stakeholders sensitization and engagement session, which forms part of efforts to fully roll out the Rural Economic Development Initiative project. Now, it is quite fitting that this program, which is being implemented by JSIF with funding from the World Bank, is being undertaken at this time as the tourism sector seeks to rebound from the impact of the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. I have no doubt that everyone is fully aware of how the tourism sector has been ravaged by this pandemic. Now, in this regard, we are heartened by the fact that JSIF has broadened the scope of the REDI initiative to provide a suitable response to the fallout from the COVID-19. This will assist many community-based tourism entities of the grassroots level to weather the ravaging impact of the pandemic and better position themselves to succeed in the post-COVID era and the new tourism industry that it will produce. Building COVID resilience is key if entities are to thrive in the tourism sector in the new normal that is emerging. This is precisely why we have unveiled the tourism industry COVID-19 protocols, which were developed to ensure the safety of the workers in the industry, as well as to build confidence among travelers to adopt the new normal of additional health and hygiene practices. Our protocols have received the World Travel and Tourism Council, that's WTTC, Safe Travels stamp. When fully adhered to, they will make Jamaica amongst the most COVID resilient destination in the world. The Ministry of Tourism and its agencies welcome the REDI 2 initiative as it aligns with the ministry's strategic priorities based on the grant policy framework. This framework fits within the strategic objectives of the Ministry of Tourism and its agencies as it supports community tourism development across Jamaica, but particularly utilizing the cluster model. This is aimed at improving the capacity of community-based organizations through capacity building, increasing their market share, and promoting them through digital marketing platforms. Entities which are engaged in the following tourism activities or services will be considered for support under the project: gastronomy, including restaurants and other food providers; accommodation, such as hotel, villas, bed and breakfast, and homestays; transportation, of course, we're talking about the JTB licensed operators; TPDCO certified tour guides; experience providers, such as museums, cooking classes, art and craft, nature trails, farm tours, and heritage tours; attractions, places of interest, beauty and spa products and services. The Ministry of Tourism and JSIF share a long and fruitful bond, born out of our strong mutual desire to uplift and empower communities throughout Jamaica. Therefore, we believe there is a distinct synergy between the ministry's drive to facilitate the swift recovery of the tourism sector from the COVID-19 pandemic and the COVID compliance component of the REDI 2 project. This element of the program will provide assistance to many small tourism enterprises in order to ensure that they acquire the equipment and other resources needed to make them COVID compliant and market ready. This will enable these entities to remain in operation and safely serve visitors. Under this component of the program, operational manuals will be developed and customized to suit community tourism and agricultural entities in keeping with the COVID-19 protocols. Safety point persons will also be trained to identify, monitor, and facilitate COVID-19 safety regulations within their various community and farming areas. The type of grant requests that will be considered under the program include provision of biosecurity equipment, retrofitting businesses to adhere to physical distancing requirements, fast-tracking registration of entities to enable access to REDI 2 funding, signage to support the COVID-19 protocols, health and safety training on the new COVID-19 protocols, sanitation infrastructure support. Our common ground is community-based tourism. Through initiatives that encourage and invest in community-based projects, we are able to spread the benefits of tourism to even the poorest communities across the island. The ministry and its agencies have been working in tandem with JSIF to develop a sustainable community-based tourism offering by facilitating training, marketing, compliance with licensing regulations, and investment. We look forward to our continued partnership as we all work together to lay the foundation for an equitable, sustainable, and inclusive community tourism subsector that benefits all Jamaicans. This morning's sensitization and engagement session will aid in this process by engaging stakeholders in an interactive and inclusive manner. We commend JSIF and the World Bank for the tremendous support being given to the development of tourism at the community level, especially in these trying times. The Ministry of Tourism and its agencies fully endorse this important initiative, and we as tourism partners are fully engaged in this crucial process. We look forward to all the work that will be included, and again, the ministry and its agencies' full support will be behind JSIF in this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson, for your remarks and certainly speaking in great detail to some of the interventions planned under capacity building component to support the climate resilient agriculture and tourism enterprises to improve their resilience to COVID-19. And certainly we at JSIF, we appreciate the partnership here with the Ministry of Tourism and its agencies, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture. I see Ms. Letha Geddes, Director of Project Management and Coordination Division from the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, is joining us. Ms. Geddes?
Good morning. Thank you. Economic Development Initiative, REDI 2, Mr. Maisha Basham. Chairman of the Jamaica Social and Investment Fund, Dr. Wayne Henry. Managing Director of JSIF, Mr. Omar Sweeney. Senior Technical Director in the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. David Dobson. Agricultural Specialist of JSIF, Mr. Vincent Thompson. Other distinguished guests and stakeholders, members of the media, good morning. I am pleased to join you all today, representing the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Dermot Spence of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries at this virtual stakeholder sensitization forum for the Rural Economic Development Initiative, REDI 2. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries is particularly pleased to be partnering once again with the Jamaica Social Investment Fund on this World Bank $40 million project, which was signed in March. We consider this project to be a very important one, as it aligns with our focus of strengthening the value chains, as well as strengthening linkages in the tourism sector between producers, service providers, and buyers. Through these linkages, we anticipate improved economies of scale for small agricultural and tourism enterprises, as well as an increase in emphasis on climate resilience. In the agricultural sector, the focus will be placed on increasing production and productivity of crops and livestock, processing, value addition, and marketing. This focus has become even more relevant in these unprecedented times when the world faces the global pandemic COVID-19, and there is need to strengthen food security and shore up income generation. In that regard, the ministry continues to encourage farmers, both of crops and livestock, to increase their productivity in order to prevent any disruption in the food chain, as well as to become more technologically savvy as they explore innovative ways of connecting with buyers through online platforms and other initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, since the implementation of REDI 1 in 2010, the agricultural sector has been positively impacted, as farmers have been able to maximize their potential to earn, thereby reducing poverty and engendering more empowered rural communities. The agricultural sector have enjoyed a particularly robust partnership with REDI 1 project, with some $1 billion Jamaican dollars being spent on agricultural and agro-industrial projects. Of special note, I wish to commend the contribution of JSIF and REDI to the expansion of irrigation for the agricultural sector through the establishment of rainwater harvesting and drip irrigation system in a number of communities, which has led to increased crop production. Further, I echo the sentiments once posited that JSIF's piloting of REDI 1 has helped the country to move closer to achieving the developmental goal by facilitating the strengthening of supply chain linkages between the agricultural sector and the end users in tourism, fast food chains, restaurants, and supermarkets. This must also be the case for REDI 2. It must build on the gains of its predecessor and solidify them to give our farmers and other stakeholders of the project a fighting chance at surviving these times and beyond. Let me wish JSIF and the World Bank a successful project and assure you of the ministry's support in executing the mandate of the project to the benefit of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geddes, for your remarks and endorsement of the REDI project. You spoke very in great detail as to the impact under the previous programming of the project. Certainly, expanding on those results, REDI 2 will enhance the capacity, water storage capacity, and strengthen climate resilience across Jamaica. Certainly, it provides the opportunity for Jamaica to unlock growth in our rural communities and link our producers and our tourism service providers and partners into the national economy and for strengthening the growth agenda. Definitely, as we look at strengthening the partnership, certainly financing was provided by the World Bank to the tune of US $40 million, and REDI 2 is being implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and their respective agencies. At this moment, we will take some testimonials from our previous REDI beneficiaries as part of the REDI 2 video feature, which was prepared by the Jamaica Information Service.
The National Development Plan Vision 2030 Jamaica outlines several goals to empower all Jamaicans to reach their fullest potential. A key step in achieving this target is creating equal opportunities to make a living from our abundant resources. The Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, through the Rural Economic Development Initiative REDI, is doing just that by improving the earning potential of persons in rural areas operating in the agriculture and tourism sectors. The first phase of the program, which ended in 2017 after a 7-year run, provided benefits to over 19,000 micro and small-scale rural agricultural producers, as well as tourism product and service providers. Now, REDI is set for its second phase.
We want to improve the linkages of agriculture to tourism. We want to improve the ability of farmers to have climate resilient methodologies. That's drip irrigation, for example, protected agriculture. We want to improve the ability of community tourism enterprises to develop and become licensed to provide your services to our international guests.
With the support of a $40 million loan from the World Bank, REDI 2 starts in 2020.
We want to enhance the competitiveness of both sectors. So we want to link our producers into strategic value chains, taking it from the primary production stage up through to the market, linking them not just to domestic markets but also to exports, as well as to build out more agritourism type ventures.
REDI 2 will continue to build on partnerships with key government ministries, agencies and departments. These entities will receive technical assistance to improve their capacity to serve project beneficiaries. Across the island, especially in rural areas, cultivators depend on earning potential from farming to sustain themselves and their families. Lack of access to markets, climate change and unsustainable farming practices, however, continually threaten their livelihoods. REDI 2 will seek to address those issues.
As it relates to climate resilient approaches, it involves looking at the farming practices, integrating more environmentally sound or green technologies in production, as well as in terms of alternative power or energy sources.
Registered farmers who are members of a cooperative or benevolent society are encouraged to apply for support to establish greenhouses, drip irrigation, water harvesting and storage systems, as well as other climate-smart land and soil conservation measures.
We also have a training component to ensure that the beneficiary group is prepared for business, because this is what REDI 2 is all about, is to develop businesses among rural communities. These groups have to be legally registered, either as a cooperative, a benevolent society, or a special authorized society, but they have to be legally registered.
The project will target vulnerable groups such as women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Groups are encouraged to incorporate these individuals in their associations for inclusiveness.
Everything that you see on the farm right now is from REDI. The plastic, the mesh, the irrigation system, the drums, everything. And we even receive training through them, all the necessary trainings that you would need to operate a greenhouse and to supply the wider market.
The project helped us in finding market. We got the market through REDI.
It has improved my life in the sense that I'm not financially dependent on anyone. I'm my own boss, so I choose the times I work, and it's working out quite well for me.
So in case we hadn't got assistance with any market for onions, we probably would have had onions sat around and spoil, or we might have had to give it away. However, we got that assistance and it was a profit.
And for those farmers who usually experience seasonal gluts, support will be given to construct more post-harvest and cold storage facilities.
Welcome to Charlestown Maroon Museum and a Sapphire.
Jamaica's culture is like no other, and there is great potential for communities with unique cultural, historical, and natural resources to share their experiences with the world and advance their neighborhoods through community tourism enterprises, CTEs.
Charlestown Maroon Council had received maximum aid or assistance from REDI 1 and is looking forward to move on to REDI 2.
On the REDI 1, we did a lot of infrastructure investment, capacity building, training in Team Jamaica, in business, all the foundational work that would be required. And community tourism enterprises are now really ready to go into the big leagues.
CTEs will receive support in areas such as business planning, identifying target markets, product development, tour packaging, and marketing and promotion to expand their ventures.
The Charlestown Maroon community in itself has been benefiting from it. The people of the community, they are now able to come and they display their goods, such as their craft, their fruits, their different things that they have done, and the tourists would buy what they have.
The REDI 2 project is poised to build and strengthen enterprises to improve Jamaica's agricultural production, as well as tourism products and services in rural areas. Get more information on the project's benefits, eligibility, and access by contacting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
With me this morning to speak to how can one access the support under the project. What are the eligibility requirements? How should the enterprises get ready? What documents are needed to support your application? The call for proposal will be published this Saturday in both the Jamaica Observer as well as the Jamaica Gleaner, as well as on Saturday and Sunday. So we look forward to persons getting their copies and submitting their applications. So Mr. Vincent Thompson, our agriculture specialist, will be speaking on the REDI 2 eligibility requirements and how can enterprises access funding under the project. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Are you all ready for REDI? Join me and let us dig deeper into the details of the REDI 2 project. The objective of REDI 2 is to enhance access to markets and to climate-resilient approaches for targeted beneficiaries. And here, resilience doesn't apply to climate, but to financial and social resilience. The focus of REDI 2 is to build on the success of REDI 1, and it will focus on a number of things. The implementation of competitively selected business plans strengthening of value chains, development of tourism clusters with an emphasis on the linkages between producers, service providers, and buyers, improve economies of scale for small agricultural and tourism enterprises. The purpose of REDI continues with the facilitate the strengthening of the supply chain linkages between the agriculture and the end users in processing, exporters, the tourism sector, fast food chains, restaurants, and supermarkets. Supporting development at community tourism as a viable option and opportunity for economic investment. The benefits of REDI. 1. Strengthened market linkages, enhanced agriculture and tourism linkages, optimized rural agricultural production, enhanced markets of community tourism enterprises, direct integration of women and the youth. Increased employment opportunities, crowding in of the private sector via cash contribution, climate resilience integrated in rural enterprises, improved standards and quality of outputs. Increased employment opportunities, the crowding in of how will REDI 2 work? REDI 2 will provide grants for eligible projects in 2 components. 1, climate resilient agricultural and community tourism sub-projects enterprises via matching grants, institutional strengthening and capacity building of the public sector. Finance competitively selected business plans for implementation via matching grants to promote the development of agriculture, community tourism enterprises that are better integrated in productive partnerships and alliances, operate more competitively in selected value chains with more reliable linkages with buyers and markets, increased capacity to manage climate risks. The component 1 targets a total of 90 investment sub-projects to be supported, directly benefiting 200 rural enterprises with around 9,000 individual members benefiting, of which 40% should be women and 30% youth. What is the process? The component 1 sub-projects are funded through matching grants for the implementation of competitively selected business plans. 5 to 60% counterpart cash contribution depending on the total sub-project costs. These are the criteria for selecting sub-projects. The group must be legally registered with the DCFS or the Companies Office of Jamaica. It should have market demand identified and clearly defined, technical and financial feasibility established, environmental and social sustainability, approaches to enhance climate resilience, potential for local impact, level of participation by women and youth established, technical and business experience of members clearly defined, identification and or agreement with buyers, that's contract or letters of intent. For infrastructure sub-projects, the group must have a land title or at least a 49-year lease. A lower tenure may be considered based on the type of infrastructure. Farmers must be registered with RADA. Direct linkages with the agriculture and tourism sectors and aligned with subsector priorities. The REDI 2 will not finance recurrent expenses, example salaries of staff, gas, or utility bills, etc., or the purpose of land or buildings. These are the types of component 1 interventions. For agriculture, we will be funding counter-seasonal production methods, example, greenhouses for vegetable production, or hardening with Irish potato and ginger or tissue culture plantlets, seeds and seedling production, value-added production, honey bottling and value-added honey products. fishery development, example, equipment and the fish cleaning or filleting facility. Small ruminant production such as goat and sheep, an example is breeding stock improvement. Introduction of alternative energy source such as solar panels to enhance quality and reduce energy cost. Introduction of new crop varieties and innovative productive methods. Post-harvest or cool storage infrastructure and packing sheds. Water harvesting and drip irrigation systems. Agritourism enterprises. Under community tourism, we'll be funding health, safety, and security measures in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, virtual, digital, or technology-enhanced products, marketing, or service delivery. Product development and tour packaging for community tourism enterprises, marketing and promotion, craft and trade development, construction of handicraft markets, gastro-tourism experiences, agritourism experiences, cultural heritage tourism, and technical assistance and capacity building. Who can apply? MSCs, MSMEs, or groups of persons who are engaged in existing or new agriculture or community tourism enterprises that are organized with their management and membership structure in place, legally registered with the DCFS as a cooperative or a benevolent society, or with the Companies Office of Jamaica. Please note, applications from individuals and private companies are not eligible. However, projects that demonstrate a collaboration between communities and private sector are encouraged, such as value-added enterprise, aggregators, as well as large purveyors or tour operators. How do you apply? To request funding for a project, applicants must complete the REDI application form online or in hard copy and submit to JSIF. Application forms may be obtained at the JSIF office at 11 Oxford Road. Entrance is on Norwood Avenue. On the JSIF website, www.jsif.org, the RADA parish offices, TPD co-regional offices, as well as the SDC parish offices. And we should remember while preparing our proposals that we should protect the environment, as JSIF is an ISO 14001:2015 certified organization, and the JSIF requires that all projects conform to the Government of Jamaica's environmental regulations and JSIF's environmental and social safeguard systems. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, our agriculture specialist, for speaking to the REDI project and how can enterprises actually qualify for support under the project. Mr. Thompson spoke about businesses in agriculture and tourism, and I must say that in terms of REDI supports a wide area for both sectors. It's about value-added production, strengthening climate resilience. But importantly, I want our viewers and all of Jamaica who are operating an enterprise in agriculture, tourism, or both, to actually obtain a copy of the Jamaica Gleaner and the Observer on Saturday. Complete an application form. The REDI application form is on the JSIF website. As Mr. Thompson mentioned earlier, copies are also can be had at the TPD co-offices, the RADA parish offices, and the Social Development Commission offices. Deadline for submission is November 25th, 2020 by 4 p.m. Right? So deadline for submission November 25th by 4 p.m. And the call for proposal goes live this Saturday. I'm going to ask Ms. Stewart, our tourism specialist, to speak a bit about the tourism clusters and how those tourism enterprises can access support under the project.
Thank you, Kamisha. We particularly encourage clustering. Studies that have been done, especially coming out of REDI 1, have indicated that tourism entities perform better when they cluster together. So we are looking at a cluster that might comprise of what the Jamaica Tourist Board would refer to as an attraction. You saw Charlestown, and they technically speaking would be an attraction. You want to be able to make sure that there are partnering entities. Vincent mentioned the agriculture, so his agricultural entities would be providing products that provide food for visitors who come. You also want to make sure that you're participating with a tour operator, not but several tour operators. And Vincent also mentioned about making sure that you have a market and letters of intent from your potential, your potential buyers. You want to make sure that you have made those arrangements. As you know, the tourism businesses will take a year almost before your businesses come on stream. And that is why we go to JPEX, the annual marketplace, basically, for tourism enterprises in Jamaica. Many people don't remember that JPEX actually was developed for the small entities, because at the time we knew that the larger entities could pretty much afford to do marketing. The smaller entities could not, and JPEX was specifically developed to facilitate those small entities. So just reminding you, of the clustering. The marketing is your market, identifying your market, pretty much locking that down is critical. Make sure that your transportation providers are included in your cluster. So you want a holistic grouping of entities that can effectively address the market. The marketplace, we're working very, very closely with the Jamaica Tourist Board to make sure that going forward, our entities, our small entities that may not necessarily have had traditional facilitation, they now will have that. You will have seen several of the small entities featured in the Jamaica Tourist Board advertising recently. I want to mention First Man, couldn't miss that. Today is his birthday, actually. So, we really, really are looking forward to having specialized marketing for the small entities.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stewart, for that bit about tourism and how REDI 2 continues already, and JSIF in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries continue to support tourism enterprises. The REDI 2 project has support from the World Bank with a loan of $40 million US. So the project objective, of course, is to enhance market access and for target beneficiaries, and as well as to climate resilient approaches. At this point, we are going to elicit the feedback and question and answers from our viewing and our listening participants on Zoom. And you could use the raise hand feature, and we'll identify and indicate for you when to speak. Well, whilst we await feedback from persons from Zoom, Mr. Sweeney, is there anything further you want to share with the audience?
Yes, I can do.
Audience, this is an opportunity to get your questions answered. How can you access the REDI project? How can you access support to implement your business plan for you to maximize the opportunities in the agriculture and tourism sectors, or 2 key growth sectors?
No questions?
Okay. You don't want to say anything?
I was going to come in and speak
Okay.
about one of the things that I think is going to be an important question and topic of consideration for the beneficiaries is individuals and private businesses will have the question as to whether they're eligible, how they can become eligible, and what do we mean when we say community groups. Does a community group have to be registered? Who is a community group registered with? What is allowed? And we don't have, and I'm going to allow the experts to speak in a moment, we don't have a policy of excluding any particular interest or idea, right? What we want to do is to be able to facilitate as best as we can the participation of groups. I think what was spoken about earlier was the fact that the clustering and the working of groups is a big part of our target beneficiaries, but that does not mean that private enterprise becomes ineligible, right? What we're looking for is that partnership, the collaboration, the linkages between private sector groups and the community groups. That's how the program is designed. And so if it is that sort of facilitation is needed to make it happen, then the project will be able to provide the blueprint or the road to get us there. We believe strongly that private sector enterprise is a big part of the success of the program, because what we want to ensure is that sustainability effect and the viability of private business going forward. So that's essential. But capacity exists in different places, right? So there's capacity certainly within businesses, and there's also capacity within the community and on the ground. So I know it's been a big question. That's a big question we've been getting since we've started to sensitize persons on the program. And so no particular group is excluded. I mean, what's important is to read the documentation and raise, see where you fit in and raise it with the persons that will be here from the JSIF team, from the Ministry of Tourism team, from the Ministry of Agriculture, because as our partners, the TPDCO, the RADAs are going to be there as resources far and wide at their regional offices to help gain access to this program. You saw on the slides earlier that ultimately we will target, or we will end up with 90, 100, maybe 100 plus persons will actually receive these grants. And so it is going to be competitive, that's the reality. And it is going to be a vigorous process to ensure that we get the best 100 grants, certainly in this first call for proposals. And so the idea is to take the time now. I mean, don't even wait until the project is launched. Don't wait until you see it in. Take the time now to get your groups organized, get your paperwork organized, so that you can get the best help in moving towards the proposal submission date. And so we also don't want to be in a position where we're flat-footed and we have to give extensions upon extensions, because that delays the benefit, right? We want the benefit now. I mean, the pandemic has been rough. And so We are trying here to spread the word. Please spread the word also in your own spaces. And we certainly will be having more sensitizations, more questions, more forums, more stakeholder engagements like this, as remote as we can be. But the important thing is to pass the information. And so that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Thank you for those great reminders. Definitely, we want to encourage all the businesses, the farmers groups, the community tourism enterprises, the clusters. Get your groups ready. Strengthen your governance capacity. I see a couple of questions coming in via social media. Please remember, you can ask your questions via YouTube as well as on Facebook, and as well as the Zoom. Persons who are on Zoom, you can ask your questions. A question that was asked, if the farm road can be rehabilitated as part of a project? Well, it's about how does that fit into a business case and support the enterprises in that community, and how does that link that community to the wider economy, to spur economic growth, and to pretty much include and incorporate the enterprises in that community to contribute to the agriculture or tourism sector. So that could possibly be, but it's how it is structured in the proposal and showing the linkage with the community to spur economic growth and to spur the development of businesses, because REDI is about businesses and supporting enterprises to be contributing to the growth agenda. Another question coming in from Facebook is, how can one get in a group? Well, if that is contingent on you, because we are encouraging, there are a number of clusters, tourism clusters island-wide. There are a number of agriculture groups. They are registered. They consist of individual farmers who are registered with REDI. They're also registered as cooperatives, benevolent societies, specially authorized societies across the length and breadth of Jamaica. So be sure to check with one of your SDC representative or your REDI representative of a group that is registered and is operating in your community, and for you to be a part of that. And each group has their own legal and governance requirements, etc. So you will be able to speak with that person. It's someone in your community. So it's about dialogue, and it's about strengthening that governance mechanism. We do offer support in partnership with the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies to strengthen our community enterprises, building that capacity, getting them formalized, in terms of the registration, setting up their annual, their financial record keeping, submitting financial reports, just like any other limited liability companies. Another question here is on the matter of infrastructure. So if you require infrastructure as part of your business plan and your business case, it's about including some rehabilitation or construction of new buildings or infrastructure. Certainly the project facilitates that. We definitely need to ensure that there's security of tenure, that is by way of a lease or the actual title itself for the land, because we have to ensure that when we come in with the investment and we construct, then tomorrow someone doesn't come and say, guys, you need to get off the land. So the security of tenure needs to be established up front, and we encourage all applying or applications to be accompanied, that require infrastructure development, to be accompanied by a land title or a lease agreement. Copies, by the way. I must highlight from Mr. Thompson's presentation that there is a cash counterpart contribution by beneficiaries. It ranges from 5 to 60%, depending on the type of enterprises or the type of beneficiaries. We have the climate resilient tourism and agriculture enterprises there, and the larger, we call them the value added enterprises, or VAEs. These are like our large purveyors that interconnect with our producer organization. It could be an agro-processor, an exporter, like an anchor firm in the tourism, cluster, a tour operator that links several players in the sector, links the community tourism enterprises into the market. So they could also apply, because we do recognize, as Mr. Sweeney mentioned, REDI2 is inclusive. It's about how do we include the varying actors within that, let's say, that ecosystem to translate into a solid business case for support. So definitely we look forward to receiving those calls and those proposals from our enterprises out there. I must implore you, our public, do not wait till last minute. I know Jamaicans sometimes can wait until last minute, but let us get the ball rolling from day one, from now. Some persons have been calling. We've been getting some solid queries and inquiries, right? And persons are serious about it, because we know here is let's say, an opportunity for us to pull, as part of the recovery and resilient efforts in face of this COVID-19 pandemic. Here's an opportunity for us to pull the country on a trajectory for growth, to really strengthen our production systems and to support food security, as well as to diversify and look at how we go about community tourism, and to see how strategically we can position the tourism product, based on what's happening. There are a number of opportunities here. So we look forward to some exciting proposals from the public, some exciting proposal that will create impact to unlock human capital and support the human development index in our communities, and certainly to contribute to our increased growth and revenues. All right, no further question as yet. May I ask Mr. Thompson if he could speak to, okay, oh, all right, I understand we have a question on Zoom. Okay. All right, question coming in from Marlene. Is there any special training through the program to build capacity in the areas of leadership? Since many times in groups that are willing and not necessarily able to do so, and are always willing to get involved, certainly REDI2 offers that opportunity for capacity building, because capacity building not just on the business or the industry specific training and requirements, but also as it relates to leadership, governance, setting up your record keeping, the standard business practices. Certainly we recognize that will improve the potential and the reality of these enterprises to be successful. So yes. Okay, I have another question. What is the... Okay. Oh, there's a question. I understand there's a video question from Zoom. So we're going to go over to Zoom.
Kamisha?
Oh, Thank you, Arlene, for joining us. Arlene from Rastafari Indigenous Village out in Montego Bay. You may go ahead.
Yes, so this is Arlene Mackenzie from Rasta Village and also from the Alliance of Community Tourism Experiences. I wanted to just say quickly, thanks to JSIF and TPDCO and the agencies. We haven't dealt directly with the Ministry of Agriculture, but we've dealt with JSIF through our agricultural products. To just say thanks for the assistance that we were given on REDI 1. We were assisted with infrastructure development, with training, and with linkages also with tour operators and with other agencies as we developed our products. With support as we went through, with our hand-holding, if you like. One of the things that we are planning to do with the Alliance of Experiences and also with other projects in the area that we have been working with is to look at taking what we've been doing in tourism and in agriculture virtual. So a lot of what we've been asked to do is to look at how we can continue to deliver the experiences that we're giving in a virtual way, and also not just to people who would be visiting or coming online, but also to schools and colleges, and to look at our product and see where we can link in with taking into consideration COVID and the growth of interest in wellness, to look at how our tourism environment lends itself to wellness activities. So those are some of the areas that we're moving into, and we're looking forward to having further discussion, perhaps with the REDI team, as to how we can articulate all of this in documentation for REDI 2. So it's not a question, it was really just a support to say, look, it was great the first time round, and we're looking forward to the continued support and a step up. So we're not going to go with the same way that we did the first time, but to look at, in the context of new developments, saying, look, we know that the traveling world is not going to be moving for a little while, but we are concerned about our cultural capacity, meaning that a lot of what we have in our culture is fading. John Kono, Etu, all the dances, all the music, all the maroon dances you just see. How do we archive them? How do we document them? How do we conserve them so that we can still deliver to the global market and keep them interested in our product here in Jamaica? So we're working with you tooth and nail, and we're hoping that we can build on what we have done so far.
Oh, great. Thank you for your contribution, Arlene, a former REDI beneficiary. I must say, the enterprises who would have benefited under the first programming of REDI, they can apply under the REDI 2. However, a separate and additional level of screening and eligibility will be done to assess, because you would have to demonstrate how it is that you would have increased or improved upon your business and the business outcomes. If there was an increase in your markets, a number of markets access, increased youth employment or employment in general, linkages within the community and even external to the community, how you continue to support or aligned with the strategic priorities of the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. So yes, former REDI 1 enterprises can apply under REDI 2, but another level of assessment will be applied, because we need to ascertain and to be able to confirm growth, that you are continuing as a going concern, you're compliant with your statutory requirements based on your legal registration status, etc. I must also point persons to whether there's a question coming in, whether individuals can apply, right? Individuals aren't eligible under the project it is groups. How the project and JSIF operates, we support enterprises or groups of persons. So we encourage the clusters, for example, or the cooperatives, the benevolent societies, to apply, right? So that's an opportunity for persons to be able to participate under the project and to be eligible for support. We also, right, another question, REDI is, I must say, REDI 2 and REDI 1. As with REDI 1, it's demand driven, meaning there is not a we haven't selected any communities or locations. It is the onus is on the applying enterprise, is the merit on which you apply, that is what determines your eligibility. So the more, as per the eligibility requirements, the more that you provide information about your group, how it is contributing to the growth agenda, how it is incorporating members in a community, how is it contributing to climate resilience, when that is demonstrated and confirmed by virtue of the documentation that are supporting our application, that will determine your eligibility. And so every enterprise operating in the agriculture and tourism sector, community tourism sector, have an opportunity to be selected. So there is, so it is on you, the applicant, to be able to provide us with all the necessary information and support documentation to confirm your eligibility. Just to say, give you an idea in terms of the dollar figure, the grants can range. We have an average grant of roughly 35 million Jamaican dollars. So average, it can be below or above per enterprise. And as we mentioned earlier, it can cover the gamut of infrastructure development, capacity building and training, marketing, and other, marketing support, technical assistance, because you may need a study, you may need some improved crop production techniques, etc. So the grants on the component one can support those types of intervention. I must also remind us that our partners, the Ministry of Tourism, REDI, and the SDC, they have applications on site, so you may visit one of their offices island-wide to obtain application, as well as on the JSIF website, www.jsif.org. So that's www.jsif.org. Also, you may visit our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Instagram, at JSIFJA. That's our handle at JSIFJA. The TPD offices as well are a part of the agencies that for persons to be able to collect their application forms. I must remind you, the call for proposal will be published on Saturday and Sunday, right? But as the first day, Saturday, the 26th of September, and closing on November 25th at 4 p.m. Just a reminder, the cash contribution, I see a question about the counterpart cash contribution here from our participants on social media. Yes, beneficiaries or enterprises will be required to provide a cash contribution ranging from 5% to 60%, and that is contingent on the enterprises that are applying and whether they are a value-added enterprise or one of the community tourism enterprise or producer organizations. So yes, there is a cash contribution, and the rest will be financed by the project by way of a grant. I think, let me see. All right, so Mr. Thompson, Ms. Stewart, Mr. Sweeney, anything further?
We're scheduled to close at 11:30.
Yeah.
Morning once again.
Social media,
can I get in a few words?
communications, are there any further questions from Zoom?
Yeah, Kamisha, first man here. Are you hearing me at all?
All right, so
Kamisha,
thank you again for joining. Oh, first man, yes.
Yes, I was
on
trying to
Zoom. First
Yes.
man, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
Welcome.
yes. How are you doing? It was a pleasure to hear all of this planning going on and so on. You know, it's just remind me of what this is 2008, so 12 years ago. You know, when this whole process started. So, I just have one question I would love to ask, as it relates to the cluster. Is it a situation where, for example, we have relationship with each other in terms of Charlestown, Coptic country, you know, people who have been recipients before, and not only that we have, but where we don't have, we would want to build out. Does it mean that we all have to come under one registration profile and apply, or is it that we could put that in our project thing and it then be and then each person still apply? How do you see the cluster working for people like ourselves who have already been involved and have a whole system working of our own daily things managing and so on, and then to do that? Is it one registration profile, one thing? How does it work?
Sure. Ms. Stewart, our tourism specialist, will take that question.
First man, it could go either way. As you know, the Jamaica Community Tourism Alliance is made up primarily of initial REDI 1 beneficiaries who see the benefit of collaborating and working together. And I know there have been discussions and, you know, some serious entrees have been made in other areas with respect to the alliance. So that is one option. There's also the other option. Let us say that Rasta Village or Charlestown or CCAM decided that their project was sufficiently robust to be able to come in on their own. And as Kamisha mentioned earlier, it's going to be an extremely competitive process. So we suggest you think about it very carefully. And if you think you can make it competitively, individually, certainly that's an option. If coming together as a cluster, you are stronger and you have a better option, that is also a second option. So you pretty much have to weigh the situation based on the information that you have, and not only you, but the other entities. But certainly for the community tourism enterprises, whether cluster or individually, depending on a good, robust business case that will be sufficiently strong to make sure that you, you successfully access the funds.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. I have, just before we wrap up, a few more questions came in via social media. A question is, do you have to be a beneficiary from REDI 1 to access REDI 2? No. REDI 2 is open to all enterprises operating in the community tourism and the agriculture sector, and private companies that can demonstrate linkages with the communities and community enterprises. Another question, I understand, just trying to multitask here. I see as we're about to wrap up a number of questions coming in. Is there a minimum period for these benevolent societies to be established, or to be considered eligible, no, there is not a minimum period for them to be legally registered, right? Also, we do take applications from, but you're in a better position when you're registered, because remember we spoke about the competitiveness of the call. So if you're legally registered, you are better able to access and to be included in the program going forward. Is there any? Yes, I spoke to training earlier. There are indeed opportunities for training, technical training, technical and specific to your sector, your business, as well as from a business development perspective, you know, record keeping, accounting, financing, marketing, you know, good governance, leadership. Those are some opportunities. I understand we have Mr. Errol Gallimore from the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies joining us on Zoom. He has a question, Mr. Gallimore.
Right, thank you so much. I've been trying to get your attention for a little while, but nonetheless, I just want to, good afternoon, one and all.
Good afternoon.
And his technical team. I just wanted to say, just make a few comments. The DCFS stand ready to work with JSIF and all the other agency impacting REDI too, in carrying out our mandate for the registration of the various entities. I just wanted to point out also that there is a next entity that we have responsibility for now since 2017, which is the agricultural loan societies. And persons can apply to become agricultural loan societies and then be in a position to apply for assistance, such as through REDI too. But of course, because of agricultural loan societies, they would have to partnership with an TR agency to be able to successfully execute these type of REDI mandate. One of the other issues which I wanted to raise is the NPO sector, which is the not-for-profit sector, as we call them, charities. Now, we also have the mandate for charities, the DCFS, because we are the charity authority. And charity, I do believe, can play a very important role in assisting some of these entities when they are registered. So, for example, I heard a comment earlier about the possibility sometimes that there might be excess crop production with onion or whatsoever it is, other type of agricultural product. We have charities who are involved in acquiring some of these products to assist various constituents, such as the food for the poor persons, the person who feed the homeless on the street. We have a number of infirmaries right across the island where other charities actually help to provide food and so on to these persons in farming. And what the charity will do is get funding to acquire these products. But if they don't know that some of these groups have excess product which they're unable to sell in the traditional market, then they will not know. So we have to put that information out there. So I think there has to be some discussion maybe at a later date between ourselves and JSIF as it relates to how the charity sector can be of assistance to the group. The third and final thing which I wanted to comment on was whether or not REDI to add any parish focus in the program, and if no, why could something look at it in terms of having a parish focus. So for example, I know that St. Thomas has been one of the most neglected parish in terms of these type of initiatives. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure. But I'm wondering if some sort of parish focus could be made where X amount of these grant funding is reserved for a parish like St. Thomas, and therefore application would come in respect of that aspect of it. Maybe this discussion require a one-to-one sit down with JSIF and Agriculture, Minister of Agriculture, the CFS, so that we can help to play our role in looking at a particular parish. I know the system is open for anybody to apply from anywhere, but I'm thinking that maybe there need to be a parish focus with these type of grant programs. So those are my 3 comments. So I know Mrs. Philip Gregory is also online for the DCFS, and if anybody wants to have any issues or seek any clarification in terms of the registration process, she's also online and can be available too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallimore. And we on the REDI one, we partnered with the DCFS to continue the support and strengthening these community groups. And we will continue the dialogue on the REDI 2 here. And certainly we welcome you and the team. We're also here on the call, and we stand ready to continue and to see how best we can develop and grow the partnership. And indeed you raised some key points, and we take into account that some parishes, there are some peculiarities in some parishes, so that will be included as part of, as we roll out and develop the business case and the enterprises linking producers with markets. Those are definitely elements under the project that will be strengthened and will be built out and incorporated. So thank you for your input. I must wrap up now. I still see questions coming in via Facebook. However, we will respond to those. And okay, so in wrapping up, let me just remind us of the requirements. Right, the calls for proposal will be published on this Saturday, September 26th. It will be open until November 25th. All submissions, you can visit the JSIF website, www.jsif.org. Visit us on social media. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, at JSIF.JA. You may also call the JSIF office, right? You may also visit a TPDCO or a RADA parish office or a SDC to get additional information. So there are myriads of opportunities or avenues for which to get information, to collect an application form, get some guidance and support in how to complete the application form. We have also the guidance document that is there to support the how to complete the application form. And so we look forward to getting these proposals in to fully ramp up support to our rural communities, to really build out and unlock the human potential there, and strengthening our linkages with producer organizations, tourism service providers, and the marketplace. I must say thank you to the production team here at JSIF and at the Jamaica Information Service Office. Right. Thank you to our production teams here at JSIF, as well as JIS, as well as Radio Jamaica FM 94 FM. We are transmitting live via hotline program. Thanks to our colleagues and all our viewing and listening participants, both on social media, on Zoom, and on the JIS website. Thank you, and we look forward to REDI. Are you ready for REDI? Thank you.
We're ready.